sadly. I know. Okay. One of my okay.
30 on the start. The webinar.
Five is the magic number.
5 is the magic number. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, one more. Yeah. But we don't necessarily need a form. Yeah. You got to get all the paperwork in. So the petitions that you gave us were over a year old. So we need that update.
Question I'm going to ask is what I'm going to have to answer.
You get called once the paperwork is done. And then the only real difference is that the board meeting, you would need a second.
Floor motion.
The straw vote is just a sense of who was in the room. It's nothing binding, and it still gives you the idea of what to put forward, and then you would still need the six.
Yeah. Which one is? Oh, this is the up to. Oh, yeah. The,
Oh. Yeah, between 4th and 5th.
yeah, and do you need one of the these things? I guess this is
Yes.
the key page.
Okay, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Community Board 7 Transportation Committee meeting. My name is Katie Walsh and I'm the chair. This is John DeLuper, who's the vice chair. We're going to get started in just a minute. We will get started. We have an agenda. We have 3 items on the agenda. The first is the street co-naming for 61st Street between 4th and 5th Avenue for Blas de Jesus Gonzalez. We'll hear from some speakers. Then we have a dining out application for 4324 4th Avenue, which is Tacos El Broncos, who's going to tell us about their dining out application. Yes, okay, we have our last board member we needed. And then our third agenda item is for the committee members is to review the proposed charging locations for electric vehicles in our community board district. I think many of our attendees tonight are here for the first agenda item to show their support for the co-naming, and you are welcome to stay for the entirety of the meeting, and before we get to the second and the third one. So before we jump in, we have to do roll call, so I'll ask Jeremy for his help.
Good evening, everyone. If you are joining us on Zoom and I call your name, please remember to unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. Let's start with Katie Walsh. Thank you. John DeLuper.
Present.
Thank you. Joan Body. Thank you. George Cardona. Jerry Chan. Jamie Freed. Daniel Kaminsky. Thank you. Roberto Martinez. Thank you. Roberto, you do not count towards quorum. Gabino Morales. Maria Roca. Sam Sierra. Thank you. Faye Walker. Roll has been called. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. So on 2 of these agenda items, the first 2, we will be taking a vote. So it's important that our committee members stay for the remainder of the meeting to get through those 2. So our first agenda is the application for the street co-naming for 61st Street between 4th and 5th Avenue in honor of Blas de Jesus Gonzalez. We have several speakers. And before we jump in, I wanted to offer if Gloria wanted to introduce any of the speakers before we call on them. And you could be invited to the podium. Okay.
Tardes a todos. Muy agradecida que todos estén apoyando a la familia González hoy. Es un honor que estemos aquí apoyando a un gran hombre. Tenemos algunas... I need somebody to translate for me. Tenemos unas cuantas personas que hoy van a hablar la razón por qué estamos aquí hoy. Tenemos la Yesenia González, la señora Gabina Rodríguez, David Velázquez y Edgar Álvarez. Gracias y buenas noches.
Okay, we welcome everyone and we thank you for being here as the board considers renaming 61st Street after my father, Blas de Jesus Gonzalez, that, as many of you know, was a wonderful man. And tonight we're going to have my sister, Yesenia Gonzalez, speak, my husband, David Velázquez, Gabina.
De la comunidad, la señora Gabina González, Rodríguez, perdón, y Edgar Álvarez.
Gabina Rodríguez and Edgar Álvarez are going to talk.
Yep. Okay. Yes.
So, Yesenia.
Thank you so much. Yes, as long as you speak directly in. Thank
Can
you.
you hear me now? I could hear me. Good evening, esteemed members of Community Board 7, Transportation Board 7, family, friends, neighbors, and fellow residents of Sunset Park. My name is Yesenia Gonzalez, and I'd like to tell you about the greatest man I ever knew, my dad, Blas Gonzalez. My father was a proud immigrant from the Dominican Republic. My father loved his community. He dedicated years of his life to Sunset Park and the people of Sunset Park. He owned a small bodega, Los Compadres Grocery, on the corner of 61st Street and 4th Avenue. I'm not going to tell you that his story is better than any other, because as New Yorkers, I'm certain we can argue for hours over why our local bodega is better than the other. But what I will tell you is that what made Los Compadres special wasn't the merchandise he sold. Although if you've ever had my dad's sandwiches, you know they were the best. Los Compadres was special because it was a safe place for anyone and everyone. My dad greeted everyone with a smile and welcoming attitude. He knew the members of his community. He understood their problems and understood their stories. He knew members of his community by name, looked out for the kids on the block, and sometimes, against the better judgment of a business owner, he provided them with their only ingredients to feed their families that day without charging them $1. Los Compadres was a place you could stop by for a friendly hug, words of advice, to hang out and share some stories. In the summer, during the block parties on 61st Street, it was a place parents could tell their children, if you run into trouble, go to Blas, he'll help you. During the New York City Marathon, a place runners could count on getting water and a loud cheer. A place that made you feel like you had family, even if your family was cities, states, or in sometimes countries away. Why? Because my dad loved people, loved his community, and truly exemplified show love. It's the Brooklyn way. My sisters and I had to prepare ourselves mentally when we would take a walk with him in Sunset Park, because it took us hours to get through 3 streets. Why? Because he needed to stop and greet everyone, ask about their day. How is their sick parent? Did they get the leak in their apartment fixed? How was the interview last week? He knew the details of people's lives. He cared about the details. The man loved Brooklyn, adored Sunset Park, and truly cherished 61st Street. I believe that it would be one of his greatest honors to have 61st Street be co-named after him. I like to think it's his way of still watching over his community and reminding us to continue to be a safe and welcoming place for everyone. So I ask you today, not only as a daughter who really misses and deeply misses her father, but also as someone who loves Sunset Park, because I was born here and grew up here, to support this community initiative and honor his legacy. Memory, love for the neighborhood, and his unwavering commitment to Sunset Park to make it a better place for all of us by approving this petition. Thank you for considering this application. Thank you, Community Board 7, Transportation Board 7, elected officials, friends, families, and neighbors for your time and attention.
You. It was beautiful. Thank you. I think David wanted to speak. Is David here? Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, members from Community Board 7 and Transportation Committee of Community Board 7. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to stand here before you and speak about a wonderful man, and also to support this petition to have 61st Street between 4th and 5th Avenue co-named the wonderful man, Blas de Jesus Gonzalez. Folks, my name is David Velasquez. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, raised in many churches and schools in this neighborhood, and 50 years later, my parents still live in this neighborhood just a few blocks away, where they raised their 4 boys. I even visited this building many years ago as a teenager, when it was lessons for Blue Jackets, teenagers who were interested in pursuing the Navy. I just share that because I want you to know that this community is extremely important to me. I can't think of another place where my roots are any deeper than here in Sunset Park. Of course, Park Slope and Bay Ridge. And it's important to me to know that there's a possibility that one of the names on the streets where I grew up on has the name of a hero that lived among us, Blas de Jesus Gonzalez. Blas de Jesus Gonzalez was my father-in-law, and I know at the same time that brings some type of a negative connotation, but nothing could be further from the truth. He is a wonderful man. Through his actions and his deeds, he taught me what it is to be a good son, a good brother, a good husband, good father, good grandfather, and a great father-in-law. But tonight, I just wanted to take 1 minute to really shine the light on another aspect of Blas, mi suegro, which is his role in Sunset Park. 61st Street is probably the most densely populated block and all around. So dense that New York Police Department thought it was a good idea to close down that street during the summer for the protection of these residents and to make sure that gang violence doesn't make the situation any worse. On this block, 61st Street, between 4th and 5th is where Don Blas lived with his wife and 2 daughters at the moment. It was on 61st Street and 4th, between 4th and 5th, where he had the opportunity to buy this store. He took a leap of faith and pursued the American dream. Decades later, Los Compadres still stands there. Not many grocery stores can say that they test the test of time and still stand today. It's not because of the walls or the doors, but it was because of his heart and soul. He poured so much time and energy into that, and it was amazing. As what was stated before, we can give example after example of the relationship that he's built. But I thought it was amazing when I asked him on a few times, Suegro, it must be great to be the owner where you can go in whenever you want and close the store whenever you want. And he responded to me, mi gente cuentan conmigo. My people count on me. And because of that, that store succeeded. The community on that block succeeded, and everyone else around him succeeded. He moved to 62nd Street, knowing and recognizing the importance of staying attached to the community. With that being said, I appreciate the opportunity to have this block named after a hero, as I said, Blas de Jesus Gonzalez. And I would love for someday to walk down that street and share the story of a man who's humble and achieved the American dream. Thank you.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Gabina Rodríguez, coordinadora del Comité de Ayuda a la Comunidad de la Iglesia de Perpetuo Socorro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Her name is Gabina Rodriguez, right? Her name is Rodriguez, no?
Sí.
Good afternoon, everyone. Her name is Gabina Rodriguez. She's the director of the Committee to Help the Community.
Y estoy aquí para hablar de una persona
She's here to speak about a person
valiosa para nuestra comunidad.
very valuable to our community.
Al señor Blas de Jesús González,
She met Blas de Jesus Gonzalez
1998. Y para mí fue un hombre trabajador, honesto y muy, pero muy humanitario.
She met Mr. Blas in 1998, and to her, he was a man that was very humble, hardworking, and humanitarian.
Para nuestra comunidad sería un honor que el Señor, que la calle 61 y Cuarta Avenida sea puesto el nombre de Blas de Jesús Durán.
To our community, it will be an honor for the block of 61st Street and 4th Avenue to be renamed Blas de González de Jesus Durán.
Estoy pidiendo esto porque se le debe dar honor a quien honor merece.
I'm expressing this because I believe we have to give honor to whoever deserves honor.
Estoy más que convencida que el señor Blas de Jesús Durán se lo merece. Blas de Jesús González se lo merece.
And I'm more than convinced that Blas González Jesus deserves it.
Que se tome en cuenta porque veo tantas personas que hay aquí y cuando una persona que ya no está con nosotros puede atraer tantas personas era porque esa persona realmente se le quería en la comunidad.
I'm asking this and would like you to take in consideration that after someone passes and he's still able to attract so many people like here tonight is because he was really served the community.
Gracias.
Thank you. And thank you, Edgar, too. Do we have any other speakers? Do you also want to take a few minutes?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Edgar Alvarez. So I just came in, and I don't want to make it long. I just want to say that Mr. Blas was not only an immigrant, like pretty sure everybody knows, but he was also an inspiration. And he was somebody who set the example that working hard could rake in the fruits, but not only working hard, but also being a member of the community. I believe that renaming 61st Street and 4th Avenue after his name doesn't only leave a legacy to his family and the community that knew him, but an inspiration to many, many other people, or maybe thousands of others that would look at him, look at the Black and said, I want to be just like him. I want to be able to succeed. I want to be able to serve the community. And I want to be someone who's remembered way after I'm gone. So I just leave it as that. So I also support, obviously the renaming. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to acknowledge, we had some speakers who were part of the co-naming application. We will open it if there's any additional public comment or anyone else who had wanted to speak before we go to our board members, if anyone after that wanted to ask a question. Okay. So this, we'll do public comment briefly, just in case. Oh, Grisel, of course. Grisel, do you want to come up to the front? Maybe is the best.
No tuve el honor de conocer a esta persona, pero tuve el honor de conocer a la familia, de conocer a Gloria, de saber que fue un excelente ser humano, muy orgullosa de que le pongan el nombre a la calle. Estoy segura al 100% que se lo merece. Me hubiese encantado conocerlo, hubiese sido mi honor conocerlo y haberlo invitado para United Sino Center para que fuera también allá a divertirse y a relajarse. Muchas gracias.
Gloria. Okay. And there's no hands online or anything, right, Jeremy? Okay. No hands. Okay. So I'm going to move to, before we take the vote, are there any questions from any board members, from Transportation Committee members? No. Okay. Okay. So just to say a few comments, that it was beautiful to be able to hear from the speakers tonight, to also review your application, and not, knowing directly your father, but just having that feeling from all of the people who are here tonight and who shared in support. You can really feel his presence through the application. And the street co-namings for the community board are so important because it reflects the values of this community and how we stand up for one another. And that he was a business owner and he supported the community for so many years, all different types of people, and really created that sense of community and connection. And so I'd like to propose for the Transportation Committee that we support this vote through what we call unanimous consent. And I would be looking for a second to see if there's a second to do that. Joan in the front. And I'll see if there's any objections to doing that before we do that. Okay. So seeing no objections, I'd like to support that the resolution has passed, to support the street co-naming for Blas de Jesus Gonzalez for 61st Street between 4th and 5th Avenue. Thank you.
There will be a final vote on Wednesday evening.
Yes. So the next steps, we have a full community board meeting, Community Board 7. And so that's, this is just the Transportation Committee tonight. And then we will come and bring this to the full community board meeting on Wednesday. And we will tell everyone there that this resolution for co-naming the street passed with unanimous consent. And Jeremy, thank you for making that clear. It has to go through a final vote on Wednesday, but we'll be able to provide all of the testimony. We'll share everybody who came in the room in support. So thank you. And you are welcome to come to that meeting as well.
But it's not in our usual spot. So Wednesday's meeting is going to be held in Windsor Terrace on Caton Avenue between East 7th and East 8th Street. It's PS 130, the upper school. If you don't want to travel, you could also join us on Zoom. You would need to register for that meeting, and you would be able to speak during the first public comment period if you wish to speak on this issue. And you would have 3 minutes to do so, and that would be before the vote.
I'll send you all the information as well to share with everyone. Okay. So we're going to move to the next agenda item, but I want to give people the opportunity. If you want to, you can stay. You're welcome to stay. But if you only were here for the first agenda item, now you're welcome to. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. It's good that you jumped in because then I was like, oh no, they still have one more step, but I didn't want to say like it'll probably. Yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you for. This is it. Yeah. Yeah. But I wouldn't for all the people who come. But I'll send it all to Gloria so she knows. So if you were part of the transportation committee, if you could move up to the front, this way we get you a little closer. And do we have the presenter from? Is the presenter from Tacos El Bronco here? Oh yeah. Okay, great. So we'll just you can come up because we'll yeah, hi. Okay. Nice to meet you. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. In terms of the proposal, okay, got it. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you can say, I mean, no pressure to do public speaking, but yeah. Okay, so if I can ask, okay, great. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Okay. Okay. Okay, so then the next agenda item is we're giving people a second to walk out. It's the dining out application for Tacos El Broncos, so it's 4324 4th Avenue. We do have a couple of the application designs John is handing out. Great. Okay, so we're going to have two presenters, two speakers to talk about the application. We will take any questions that we have first from board members who are in person and online. Then we will take any public comment after the questions from the board members, from anyone who is in person and then online, and then we'll move to a vote. I'm going to give Jeremy a second to. Okay, that's manageable. All right, so Tacos del Bronco representatives, if you want to come up, tell us about your proposal. And like I said, then we'll take questions from board members and then go to public comment.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us. We're Tacos del Bronco, just a block away. We've been serving the community for 15 years. We've been here, I think. And, you know, we got the outside dining when pandemic, and we got the customers used to it. And we love it. We keep it clean, and it helps us, you know, serving customers. And post-pandemic now, we're still struggling. So we want to be able to keep it to continue the work that we do with the clients and customers.
And you can stay up front because we'll have questions from people. Thanks.
Yes, just good evening, everyone again. Just want to say that Tacos del Bronco has been a stable into the community, as Evelyn said, for 15 years. They try to not only be a additional business in Sunset Park, but actually an asset. You know, they participate in so many different activities, where there's been emergencies, when someone had any issues going on, they've been there and to support the community in whichever way they can. So obviously, you know, this is something that would help them. I'm assuming all the business as well. But the most important thing is to be able to make sure that hopefully it gets approved, and understand that all this is just going to be a part of our addition to support a local business, as everyone is struggling, you know, in the community. So again, on my behalf, I really support this, and I hope the board does as well.
Great. So we're going to open up to some questions, and then I'll pass over to, so I think the first question I have is around, so I'm looking at the proposal, I'm looking at the design. Is it going to be similar design to what you had up previously? Or what changes are there from the previous outdoor
No.
dining shed that was there?
What we had previously, you know, with the new changes and the laws, we had to knock it down. So we're looking into, there's like a company that the city's working with, that they build it up, and they, at the end, because I think we have to close it like in a couple of months, and then storing it. So it's going to be new, and it's going to be something like working with them, with that company that's approved by the city.
And does the shed go all the way up, just based on looking at this, does the shed go all the way up to 4th Avenue?
No, there's a pump there, so it doesn't go all the way up. It doesn't.
And then I'll ask one other question. Have you had any concerns or complaints that you have heard of, public complaints about the dining shed, or feedback that you've gotten to Tacos del Bronco?
No, never. Mm-mm.
So I'm going to ask a couple other follow-up questions first. When I'm looking at the design, I was a little confused because I know you had a roadway one, but I was looking at the diagram. I couldn't tell if this is a sidewalk or a roadway. I just wanted to double check.
We actually have both. The side one is still up, and the one that's knocked down that we're going to be rebuilding is the street one.
So this one then is for the roadway, but
Yeah.
you also then have to still do a sidewalk under the new city rules. Is that right?
Yes.
That's future. You'll be
Right,
back.
right.
Okay, cool. And I also want to double check. I know I caught Edgar Alvarez and
Evelyn.
Alvarez also?
No, Evelyn Robles.
Robles. Okay, cool. So Evelyn and Edgar, thank you for doing this. I also wanted to ask a couple other follow-ups. I know you have a truck there. Is that going to be moved or to accommodate this, or how does that work? I know you have it there, but you also go through it. Am I understanding that right?
No, we don't actually have a truck there, based there. We refill our trucks. Our trucks are different locations, but they come in the morning and we refill them there, and then they go to their destination. They're not stationed there.
Won't have to be taking it down or moving it for.
No.
Next question is, do you have a liquor license? And would this mean that you have to amend it to reflect the outdoor dining under the new?
No, we don't have a liquor license. Yeah, it's a family restaurant. It's,
My questions, thank you.
Okay, so I'll go to board members if you want to ask any questions, and Joan has the mic, or comments. Okay, you can ask. Those were the same questions.
Questions?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions from board members? Okay. Oh, just wait for the mic, yeah.
Have a question, but I have a comment that I know the restaurant and I know the owner. They've been working in this community very, very hard. Everything very clean and helping the community, not now, from years ago. Okay, also with the senior center, her son be one of our volunteer helping the community and helping our seniors.
All right, and then Jeremy, did you want to go? I also wanted to, we'll go to public comment in a minute, but
So I've never gotten a complaint about your store. I have gotten complaints about your food trucks on 37th Street and Fifth Avenue and 50th Street and Fifth Avenue because they don't move. And they take up the metered spots. And when the vehicles have to go to be restocked, another vehicle is placed there to hold the spot for them. So could you comment on that and that business practice?
don't stay there. We go there and we do hold a spot because it's conflicting, but you know, we were one of the first food trucks to be in Sunset Park. And when we started, you know, we got a lot of help and moved around a lot. And so the 50th Street truck is our last truck. And since there's so many other trucks there, we figured we can be there. But if we need to move, we'll move because we try to abide by all the rules. But there's so many other trucks there.
you guys pay the parking meters?
Do pay the parking meters.
Okay, and are trucks allowed to stay in place as long as they're paying up to 3 hours? Is it more than 3 hours?
Yeah, it is. But that's only on 50th Street. But we have on 37th Street that there's no parking meters, and we have on 9th Avenue that there's no parking meters either.
So how many how many locations have you gotten complaints about? All three? Oh, okay, okay, okay. So you're coming for an application specifically for this dining shed, but I think what you're hearing is some, you know, feedback that we've gotten about practice, like business practice. And so that what I wanted to do is move to public comment because we had actually had people who emailed us proactively. And so I just wanted to do that. And Jeremy, what's the context for sharing public comment that has been emailed in for people who can't join? Like just reading it, or I can just read it. Okay. Okay. So we'll, so I just want to move to any public comment, you know, can be in whatever public comment or other questions that you want to ask. So there was a request to please vote down the application for outdoor dining. And this came in from a neighbor, Ty Gonzalez. They previously had an outdoor dining shed on this spot on 44th, and it was, an eyesore. I frequently pass this outdoor location. It was often empty and caused a blind spot for cars driving up 44th. They can't see cyclists and mopeds on the bike lane. And that there, it was, looked like storage a lot of the time, that there was like a handoff for supplies. And so, you know, is there enough space in the establishment? So this was something that came in directly from seeing the application proposal. So you know, this is part of what happens when you come to the community board to ask for something. This is when you often hear feedback as well. We always encourage people to use 311, and 311 can be a place to be able to share things and then to send that record to the community board, and people can also send comments to the community board as well. Is there any other public comment from, sorry. Oh, there was another one that's being, Oh, good. Okay, so then public comment, Michael, Tom, hello, I'm in support of their dining application. So, that's it, right? Then look at the two. Okay, so I read those two. Then I will move to public comment by anyone who's in the room, and then we'll do public comment virtually. You're a board member, so I mean, you're a public member of this transportation committee. So we'll go to George first, and then we'll give you a mic.
There are certain businesses that come to this area, make money and leave. They stay in the area. They get involved in the area. National Night Out, they're involved in there. They're involved in a lot of things. With that blind spot, you guys need to go to that place where it ends, you can still see everything. It doesn't block anything, and they're clean. When it comes to being clean, I go to a place that's dirty, I don't go again. Very clean. And again, they give back to the community. Not everybody does that. The gentleman before us, Blas, with the street naming, he always gave back. He gives back. And that's very, very important. And it's a respectable place. Never been fights there or nothing like that. He, again, off the record and blah, 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 he's helped me with shelters, with abused women, bring food. Sometimes we can't even go. The place comes and picks it up because they're terrified but they know the food, and he does the food, and they pick it up, no charge. So I just want to say that's very important. I want to thank you for always giving back. Not everybody gives back. You can see a lot of businesses here make money and run. He doesn't do that. So I want to thank him for that.
Is there any other public comment from, okay, well, Sam's also a board member, so Sam, okay. And then we'll go to public comment.
Hi, Sam Sierra, Sunset Park since '68. I fully support the sidewalk cafe permit. However, I just want us to be clear, we're in public. We have concerns with regard to the trucks. And we're going to have at some point a conversation, but I just wanted to make that statement. The truck has nothing to do with why you're here tonight, but we have a concern with the trucks.
Well, we've been coming to the meetings and we're open to fixing and gracias.
Oh, okay, yes, go ahead. Just introduce yourself. Yeah, if you can just first and last name.
Hi, my name is Michael Willis. I used to work for Dining Out NYC, so I just have a couple clarification questions. So this is a roadway or a sidewalk setup?
The roadway.
The roadway, but the application says sidewalk cafe?
Well, we have one that's there already, but the one we took it down and we're gonna put it back up and we're getting the permit is the roadway one.
Gotcha. So this one right here is the permit for roadway or for sidewalk?
Roadway. I'm not sure.
Here's the sidewalk.
Yeah, I would ask the lawyer because he's the one that transmitted. He was the one that put it in, but
Yeah. Sorry, it was just something I noticed. This is because yeah, this is the sidewalk cafe form. So I'm not trying to be a heckler, because I'm all in support of Dining Out NYC and all outdoor dining setups. I just wanted to point that out because, for example, the question about the blind spots. I know that for that person's comment, all the new protocols specifically call out like design requirements for combating blind spots. So if Tacos El Bronco follows the design guidelines, that should never be an issue. So this is in defense of your restaurant. So I'm saying that a lot of the old criticisms about whatever setup they had should no longer be applicable if this were to go through. And that's just why I just wanted to see if this was roadway or sidewalk, just so I could take a look at it. But otherwise, I'm all in for support.
Okay, other public comment? We'll go to Joe.
I guess this is more for the board than Taco Bronco. The space, well, does an applicant have to get permission from the block? Because, I mean, I live here and it's extremely difficult to find parking, especially between 4th and 5th or 4th and 3rd. I see that if it's, I don't know, this is a sidewalk. I don't know if the street one is going to take 36 feet of the street or not. I don't know what the size and the span is because 36 feet is probably about 5 or 6 parking spots that are gonna be taken off that street. Does that block have a say on that at all? Because I know if this was up on my corner, I wouldn't be too happy about 6 or 7 spots being taken up on my block.
So the block has the ability to come to the various public hearings and provide testimony. This is one of them. The Department of Transportation does. But the block does not get to have a vote, yes or no. The community board does not get to have a vote, yes or no. We might take the opportunity to vote yes or no, but it's not part of the process. It's really only up to the Department of Transportation. So whatever testimony that we receive, we turn over to the Department of Transportation.
That was my question.
Can I respond?
So,
Add, or I want to actually ask a quick follow-up on your thing. 'Cause since you mentioned working from Dining Out NYC, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 30 days for the roadway and 40 days for the sidewalk cafe applicate review periods? Because I'm thinking, my reading of this was a 40-day one. So that means it is for the sidewalk you're
For the
applying for
sidewalk
right now.
application.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'd have to send something else then for the roadway. for-
okay, I'll do that.
And you'd come in front of the community board again for that.
Right, and just to answer the gentleman's questions, it's not 7 parking, so there's like a pump, and then there's a free 1 parking spot, and then it's our driveway, the restaurant's driveway. So we only take up 1 parking spot.
But this is only for sidewalk today, so it's not in the actual roadway.
Okay. Just clearing the air.
I was gonna say the same and come to your defense, that 36 feet of parking is only 2 spots anyway. And even if there were 2 spots taken up,
My driveway's right behind, so.
Oh, that too. I was just gonna say, I believe restaurants using the street is a better use of space anyway.
Okay, so just going back to the sidewalk cafe proposal, so are you planning for, is it just this number of tables? It looks like 10 tables that are out. If you could just tell us more about the design for what you are
Oh, it's less
proposing.
tables. It's only, it's 2 tables. It's not, yeah.
Not 10, it looks. Okay.
2 tables, and sometimes we'll break it up when it's a big family. We'll squeeze another one in, but it's usually 2 4-seat tables.
How many people does it seat? I'll put it that way.
10 people, roughly the most.
10
Mhm.
people.
8 to 10.
Any other questions from board members? And then are there any hands online? Okay. So I think one of the things that we heard to make it very clear, this is just sidewalk, it's not roadway. If you are going to do a roadway, this would be a different application. So you'd come again, you'd submit it to DOT, they'd share it with us. We did hear, there's a whole meeting actually that the community board hosted specifically on vendors and food trucks and
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
was here.
the concerns that came up, which has nothing to do with it. But what I'm saying is I'm just acknowledging that that's something that has come up. And so we appreciate that in this meeting that you have said that, you're willing to work with the community. And so that was a meeting that was hosted by public safety specifically. And so I think that's something I'd encourage as a follow-up for you guys. I would propose that we actually do this by a roll call vote. So the resolution would be to support this proposal for the sidewalk cafe for Tacos El Bronco at 43244 4th Avenue. And I propose that we do this as a roll call among the Transportation Committee members. Do we have a second? Joan is seconding it. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy, for your help.
So I'm going to call roll. If you're joining us online, make sure when I call your name, please unmute yourself, cast your vote, and then mute yourself again. So let's start with Katie Walsh.
Yes.
Katie Walsh, yes. John DeLuper?
Yes.
John DeLuper, yes. Joan Body? Joan Body, yes. George Cardona? George Cardona, yes. Jerry Chan? Jamie Freed? Daniel Kaminsky?
Yes.
Daniel Kaminsky, yes. Roberto Martinez? Roberto Martinez, yes. Gabino Morales? Maria Roca?
Yes.
Maria Roca, yes. Sam Sierra? Sam Sierra, yes. Faye Walker? 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
For your time, and congratulations on all these updates.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
Okay.
question real quick?
Uh,
Process.
sure.
More.
Okay.
So we just voted on the sidewalk application, and then you said if they want to submit a roadway application, they have to come back. Clarifying that last transportation committee meeting, my understanding was that we voted they don't have to do that, that like the community board, they don't need to come before the community board. So I figured
Oh,
that should be made
yes.
clear to them. Just
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That's good. So the reason that, so yes, when we did have a last meeting where we talked about dining out applications, we said that we would post them in the bulletin. And then if people had questions or comments on dining out applications, whether they are sidewalk or roadway cafes, to send comments through to the community board. Because we were getting comments that were coming in proactively on both sides, like you heard in support and against, that for us triggered the need to have a community, to bring it to the transportation committee, because we were already churning out feedback. And so we wanted to be able to create the environment.
So it's if there is feedback being received, then we will have them in.
Or
And if there-
under, yeah, what was the language that we used? But if there's like consideration that we should really have the business come in, that we would invite them in. So we kind of left it flexible for. Yeah, and because there was their previous to even the application going up, because we've actually heard comments about Tacos de Bronco about their truck specifically, and concerns and issues that have been raised, that once the application came in, it triggered the need to have this meeting. So that's why I think it's good that that you've offered to work in partnership to talk about some of these concerns. So thank you. And then before we go to the next item, if you wanted to add anything.
Clarify that this then, next step is it goes to the full board on Wednesday, where it'll be voted on by the larger group at the same meeting that we mentioned for the previous agenda item.
There's one more review that happens in the next meeting, so which you're welcome to come to on Wednesday. We can also reflect back and share how we voted and provide the information. Good. Well, you're welcome to stay if you want, but we'll go to the next agenda item, and this is for the Transportation Committee members to specifically review proposed electric vehicle charging locations. Thank you, Edgar, for coming. Okay. So let me just make sure I pull this up. Okay. So Department of Transportation contacted us and said that they are planning on doing community forums. So they have told us that they would do community forums about this, but we wanted to bring it to you all now, which is specifically about where in the district in Community Board 7 electric vehicle charging locations could be placed. And so again, we have their commitment that they would come to the full community board and present this, because I don't work for DOT, so I'm just sharing what we have from them. And so they have notified us that there's going to be a expansion at the current location. And so the current location is 43rd Street, just at the edge of Fifth Avenue. So that's where we currently have electric vehicle charging locations. And they're planning on putting one additional post. So it's 2 more plugs. They're planning on putting in 2 more plugs. We asked them to tell us why they want to put more in. Do they have data to show that these are already being used? And they said the utilization of the one that's on 43rd was about 69%, which is very high usage and above the average that they see citywide. Okay. At this time, there's currently 1 more location that they're exploring in Community Board 7, 65th Street. at the corner of Third Avenue. And they're going to have more details when they do community engagement. And they welcome any input on additional locations that we would want to consider in our community board district. So that's what this agenda item is about, is to solicit any feedback on the addition of an additional plug at 43rd Street and 5th Avenue, 65th Street and 3rd Avenue that they're considering, and if they have any additional input. And we will have a chance to provide more feedback. So.
So what you read, Katie, they are not considering any other district in the district.
They are just sharing Community Board 7 locations. We're only learning about ours that we're reacting to.
Yeah, well, what you read there is just in Sunset Park.
Oh, right. So that's what I'm saying, Community Board 7, so we can react and say, we should, I mean, whatever you would like to say about Windsor Terrace or
Yes,
other parts of the
they
neighborhood.
should look into Windsor Terrace also. They should look into Greenwood also.
And are there any specific locations that you would mention?
No, that I have to think about.
Okay, that's good. And it's not the
But
last.
in Greenwood, where traffic isn't as heavy, they could consider between 30th Street and 25th.
Okay, any other, did you have any other comments on location suggestions? Jeremy, do you have a?
So I'm just not certain that this is data-driven. Do they have any thing that shows us where there's might be high concentrations of electric vehicles owned or leased? I'm not convinced that Fifth Avenue and 43rd Street needs 4 charging stations, and perhaps it would be in a better location. One that immediately comes to my mind is beneath the highway at 3rd Avenue and 37th Street, right by Costco. That seems to be a very good location to me. I'm sure there are plenty of other locations in the district that would make sense, and spreading it around the district, not, again, concentrating it on 43rd Street, but having several locations. And again, I think it should be data-driven, and I'm not convinced that it is. I also want to make sure that we're not, giving free rein to fleet vehicles or commercial vehicles to use these stations for charging. These should be for residential.
Do you notice that it's a lot of commercial and fleet vehicles being used?
So I
as
have
a-
not noticed that. I have seen on occasion, not necessarily a fleet vehicle, but a, what's it called? Car share type vehicle. I have mixed feelings on that. But I will say, I do think, because I pass by every day, I think I have seen the charging station in use just about every day, but not necessarily both spots being used every day, or when I pass at least.
Okay, got it. So any other comments or questions from board members, and then we'll go to any public comment. And George, I don't know if you wanted to say your public comment on the record, your comment on the record, or about locations. Okay, you need to use a mic if you want to. But we do, like, it is helpful to be able to reply back and say things like, have you considered Windsor Terrace? Have you considered Greenwood? Is this data-driven approach? Would you consider different locate? Like, these are the kinds of things that we can go back with, so that when they, and then ask them when they're going to host their community meeting. So this is good information.
You brought up a great point. 45th, 44th, and 5th, that's a busy area. You want to put these things, put them where there's not so much traffic. because it's already jammed there. And what I was saying before jokingly, everybody knows how I talk. If politicians are involved, find out where they live and put these things in front of them. This way they can really get into it or not, because it's easier to pass the buck and put it in front of his place or in front of his place and so forth. And I look at that like with the city bikes. They take a lot of spots. I don't know if they're used or not, but sometimes it just gets carried away. But that's my comment. And I like to speak up, and I also like people to disagree and talk. I think that's how democracy works. It's very important that we have different opinions. We can't be clones and all think the same way. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to Dan, back to Jeremy, and then John, and then Joe for public comment.
My content of my comment is similar to what was said. I don't think 4 spots in a row is a great idea. I think that really encourages people, non-electric car drivers, just to park there. And then that really, I don't know, kind of undermines the purpose. I think splitting it up 2 and 2 on a different block. So I think, and this also goes to data-driven thing. So that's one. On the sort of process side, I'm curious what you want out of today. I guess it's just this, but kind of how does this process unfold? I know you said there's a hearing kind of, so I'm curious to hear about that. And the other thing to say, which is probably obvious, but once an electric charging station is there, it's presumably fairly permanent. So this feels like somewhat of a weighty decision. So something to say there too.
Hi, Sam Sierra. I'll be brief. Just to expand on Jeremy's recommendation regarding Third Avenue, I would ask that they consider the corridor, Third Avenue corridor.
I also want to point out we need to be careful where we suggest these. If you recall, when DOT came before us regarding redoing Fort Hamilton Parkway and putting in the bike lane on Fort Hamilton. I'm sorry, no, not Fort Hamilton Parkway. Oh, yes, yes, it was Fort Hamilton Parkway. They suggested putting in a charging station, and we pointed out to them with the bike lane next to the sidewalk, you would have to stretch the line across the bike lane, and you're potentially decapitating people doing that. So DOT wasn't very bright in where they were suggesting this should go. We should be careful about what they propose and be mindful of those things.
A good point. And I'll just react. So all we have is later this year. So this was sent in January. Later this year, DOT will be conducting community engagement to solicit feedback on these proposed locations. Feedback will be collected concurrently with additional feasibility analysis. But if you have initial thoughts on these locations, please let us know. So these are our initial thoughts. And I think, Jeremy, you make a good point with 65th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue being proposed. Like, I, could Google map it, but I'd have to look to see where it is that they're proposing.
We really don't have residents there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have residents there. That's the very edge of our district. It's right up alongside John Allen Payne Park. There are 2 very large residential buildings across the street, but they also have their own parking lots. So potentially, if there are people in those buildings who have electric vehicles, their private parking lots should have charging stations.
John.
So hearing all these comments, it's kind of interesting to me because I think there already are electric vehicle charging spots on 3rd Avenue under the Gowanus scattered throughout it. I don't know what their usage is, but I know it's also weird because there's things about how they're metered and they charge you, and I don't know how that works. I think we would need to seek clarification from DOT on that. As far as 65th Street and 3rd Avenue, I have very mixed feelings on that. On one hand, it could be an opportunity, right? We have a huge problem with derelict vehicles going from 62nd to 65th Street, and that area is not regularized parking next to the ball field. It's just like a no man's land. The police won't ticket it because they say there's no parking signs, even though there are on the other side. So if they had spots and turned them into that would be good. On the other hand, that area is also, as I understand it, part of the self-enforcement zone for the 68th precinct. So even though it's in the 72s area, they won't touch any officers' personal vehicles, and the officers have a problem there of parking in the bus stops. So I would worry that they would be parking in these spots all day, whether they were charging or not, and that there would be no way to deal with that. So I think that if we did have this, there would have to be a real thoughtful process about how the DOT and the NYPD will work together to solve that issue so that we don't have these spots being unusable because of people with placards. I also want to follow up on that I think personally, the 65th Street intersection is kind of dangerous, right? There's no leading pedestrian interval going north to south, and that's a long intersection. I know that that is long because it used to be a trolley turnaround. There's no trolleys anymore. So we need to I think that maybe there's an opportunity to expand the sidewalk portion, maybe they could add the parking in that way, which would shrink the size for the pedestrians crossing, slow the traffic to make it safer for the pedestrians crossing from the 30 things there, and maybe give some more space for the people who are using the park. And I know there's only like 3 residential buildings on that street, but maybe for them too, because there are still a few people who do live on that block. So that's my comment on that, and I hope that they would consider that as they do their process.
Do you have any proposals for other streets or other blocks? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, I'm gonna go to public comment. Unless, okay.
Not that many, but maybe a couple of years before COVID. An outfit had come here, and they were from the charging stations, and they wanted to put it on Prospect Park West, right in front of Farrell's, you remember.
I think that was Car to Go. I think that was a car share company.
Well, it was some outfit then, but anyway, I have to clear all my mind with this. That we had said there was one in Walgreens at the time.
Paul Joe? Yeah.
Yeah, as a community resident, my main concern is that a lot of these, not only city bikes or these other charging stations, are getting put on residential blocks. I have a 23-year-old daughter who has to come home at 8 and 9 o'clock at night, and there is absolutely zero parking. I mean, it's Brooklyn, so we have a church on every corner, which means that you can't park anywhere on the corners on both 4th and 5th. Then we have 3 pumps, that's 30 feet, 15 each direction. You got 3 of those. And then when we put city bikes, like we have on 55th Street off the corner of 5th, you are now creating a safety hazard, in my opinion, for community residents, especially female community residents that have to now look for parking on 3rd Avenue, on 6th Avenue, and then walk themselves 2-3 city blocks on their own at 10:30 at night. I mean, I'm forced to have my daughter come to the block. I have to get out of bed, go take her car and park because she's not, I wouldn't put her in that kind of danger of walking 3-4 city blocks on her own. That's why I asked about even the other thing that we're talking about, because people who don't drive could be nonchalant about car parking. Well, don't worry about it. It's only 2 parking spots. But 2 parking spots is the difference between somebody getting mugged, raped, killed, trying to walk to their vehicles. So for me, that lives here and has children who are being raised on this community, 2 parking spots is a lot on a residential block. So when we're considering this, the DOT, I don't know, what they think about, but I'm sure they don't think about people having to walk and coming late at night, especially female people by themselves, and have to now find or try to find, which is nearly impossible, to find parking late at night because of city bikes, charging stations, and Apple and the pear tree.
Do you have any, this is public comment, but specific comments on the locations that we were just mentioning?
I think like Jeremy says, Put it in places where it's not on residential blocks. I mean, it's no genius you have to be, put it by parks, anywhere there's a park where there aren't a lot of residential residential parkings or housing, Third Avenue, anywhere that's not between Fourth and Fifth, Fourth and Third, where there's a ton of residents. Normally, if you own a house, you might have multiple cars because you have multiple kids. You need to take them in multiple different directions. So we're talking about people who have multiple vehicles on blocks. At least on my block, I have two vehicles. My daughter's 23. She has her own vehicle. I have my own vehicle. I'm gonna have sons who are gonna have their own vehicles. So vehicles are not going anywhere. I know the city's doing whatever they try to do to make everything bike accessible, but vehicles are a necessity still in the 21st century, and they're not going anywhere. And if the community is getting older and kids are growing up, the price of living in New York City, we're gonna keep our kids a lot longer in our houses, and they're gonna need their own vehicles. So kids are gonna have vehicles on blocks, and we're just gonna add more vehicles. And if we're putting city bikes everywhere on residential blocks, I never understood who decided to do that. You have to be, let me not say what I want to say. Can't be all there in the head department. You're not from this community, and you don't own a car, and you don't live in any of these houses. So hopefully DOT, I mean, if you call me and let me know when DOT is doing something, I'll be more than happy to come and testify that you got to think about people who live in this area and have 30-year mortgages, have been here for 50 years. This is not like I live in an apartment and I could get transitioned, or I'm a transient, I could be here today and gone tomorrow. So these are the people that I don't think we get represented very well with our elected officials and on the community board. Like, we have to really think about, I mean, I know they don't come out as well. That's another problem, but the people who are paying a lot of property taxes to live here and to give these opportunities, they should have a bigger voice on it. That's why I was asking where they're going to put their thing there. I know when you have to do a block party, you have to go get people to sign. So people could sign for a block party. That's a one-day thing, but something that's going to be permanent. The block is like, yeah, who cares about you? The DOT gets to decide this. I mean, I wouldn't be happy if they were doing it on my block. No way, no how.
Thank you. Well, we jotted all of that down. I don't think we have any, thank you, Joe, for your comments. I don't think we have any hands up from anyone online. Jeremy, you want to just remind us again where the board meeting is this Wednesday?
So Wednesday night, 6:30. It's going to be at the PS 130 Upper School, which is on Caton Avenue between East 7th and East 8th Streets,
Great, okay.
in the gymatorium.
And for anyone who is joining virtually or listening, after the fact, if you wanted to provide any additional public comment for the agenda items that we had tonight that we took votes on. So the first one was for the street co-naming, and the second one was for the Tacos El Bronco sidewalk application. There is public comment before the full community board meeting, so you can provide comment then. It's a limit of 3 minutes. And then if you also wanted to offer any additional feedback on these electric vehicle locations, you can send an email that Jeremy will get at bk07@cb.nyc.gov. And thank you, everyone, for joining the Transportation Committee meeting tonight. Adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for asking that question, because I should have said it at the beginning, and then there were so many people here that I got nervous because.
What's happening? But I gotta admit, all the street co-naming that I'm still moving, like,
I know, I know.
every single time.
I know. I know. And like the fact that everyone came, and I'm glad we did it as the first agenda item. So otherwise, like, it was pretty much everybody who was here. It was packed.
the entire.
Yeah. So,